Hey everybody, it's Jane Johnston with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosun. Here with...
Hi everybody, it's Andrew Plank with LePage. Good to be here again. Hello.
How are you doing?
Good. Yeah, it's been an interesting weekend. And you were just saying that you didn't sleep well last night because your dog didn't sleep well due to the high winds we had last night.
Yeah, she was whimpering in the hallway the whole night, so it was a bit stressful, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, the winds, we could really hear them in our bedroom, but it wasn't really coming and going where we live, so it wasn't really super intense.
We're on the southern tip of Vancouver Island, like in Metchosin, and we're on a hill, so we get a lot of wind anyway. Like whenever in the winter, it's pretty windy up here.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going through empathy training today.
Are you? Like actually going through empathy training, or is this just regular real estate daily?
I'm getting my house appraised.
Right.
Our house appraised, our family house appraised. So I have been cleaning my house. I'm so sweaty right now.
If ever, real estate agents always report, and I've been through this myself, every time you end up going through your own move or selling your own, having to have your home put up for sale or buy another property, you realize again just how stressful and convoluted this process can be, even for someone who really knows what they're doing. And it's just it's the emotional draw and the extra time and all the energy. So I feel you.
Anyway, let's do the show, babe.
Yeah, we're doing the show.
All right. So
did you call me babe?
I did.
Okay. Okay. To be clear. Thank you.
All right. What's been happening? We are in a hot market, man.
Yeah. This is nothing new, but it just keeps getting hotter. What's our, I kind of want to skip down and see what our actual inventory is. Yeah, it's under 1,100, is it? God.
Here, let me do it this way. All right. So new listings, 171, pending 182. So if you are listing right now, it's a good chance. And I would say over the weekend, it was hot. I found just a lot of things were popping off. Price decreases are 23. People are now looking to close before Christmas. And I think that's why we're seeing price decreases. We had 4 price increases, which we always talk about. So, who knows why those happen? They're sometimes logical.
Yeah.
And 106 people closed in the past week. You want to do the next one?
Yeah. And again, 16 expired listings. So even though, we have currently 1,091 active listings, but not everything sells. Now it's a small percentage of what hasn't sold, 16 expired, but it does show us that, it is still, you can't ask the world for a property, but these days it's more chance of doing it. So, okay, back down to the stats. So in the last, so this is, we're moving towards the end of October. These stats are for 2020 were for the full month, and our 2021 stats are just for month to date. So October 25th. Yes.
I just want to say last year was an exceptional year.
Yeah, it was a great year too.
We're comparing apples to oranges. Go ahead.
So far this month, 568 net unconditional sales. That's down from the 990 last year. Although I expect we could have almost doubled those number of sales this year had we had more inventory. There's so little to choose from, and every listing tends to get 5 to 10 to 20 offers. So there's a lot more buyers out there than there are properties. New listings, 694 listed so far versus 1,162 last year, and active listings on market right now, 1,091. Almost half that of the 2,122 last year, and that was even low last year.
Yeah, so normally I would say we're probably at like average sales for if we were to compare to 2019. I could probably look that up, but I'm not going to. I wanted to say something. Actually, it's very interesting. A lot of people think every time a realtor has a listing that it sells, and it's only their house that doesn't sell. And this is not true. When we list, we are betting that we're going to sell the house. We're betting the farm. And the seller, we negotiate the price with the seller. Then an offer comes in, we negotiate the price again with the buyer. But sometimes these things don't work out, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the way I see it is, we're asked to come in and generally give our advice or opinion on the marketability of the property, and we share that with the sellers, and they make a decision around price. We then make a decision I make a decision as to whether or not the price they've chosen is realistic based on what I was able to share with them, and whether or not we would continue to work together or so on. In other words, we advise, the seller decides what to ask for. If they want to ask $1 million for a $500,000 condo, that's entirely their choice, but it's my choice whether or not I choose to work with them at that point. So we try to sort of come to terms. We as agents generally pay for all the marketing and take the risk of making this come to market and sell, because we're putting together all the marketing materials and putting all that work to get it to market. And so there is a business decision around, is this person, hey, no worries, Carol. It was super great working with you. We got a comment from one of my clients saying, thanks for selling my house. Yeah, we just got that one sold. Yay. Yeah. And and then it's an example again of working together on price, and you make the negotiations, and then you put it out to market and see what the market's going to tell you.
Yeah.
And this market, it usually tells us that it's going to go for more than we listed it for, but not always. Right now. Yeah.
Yeah. So actually, one of my clients watches this show as well, and he's like, that strategy you were talking about?
Oh, yeah, let's
do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been having a lot of conversations with my buyers around referential offers and the pros and cons of those, and making an offer that is really hinged on the value that other offers are coming in on, which is both complicated and sometimes a little bit doesn't work, and sometimes could be very successful. So we're really just trying to come up with as many strategies as we can, and always being on top of what is the current market reacting to, and what are people able to, how do we make it most successful for our clients.
Just so you know, referential offers don't work with me.
Yeah, well, that's why I would call you and ask before making an offer. Hey, my clients are going to make an offer on your property. What's your thoughts on a referential offer? And there are some agents who are like, yeah, I love it. Bring it on. And then my clients are sophisticated and they would totally understand that. And others who not. So
are you intimating something about me? That I'm not sophisticated? Is that what I'm hearing?
You said it.
Anyway.
No, you're so sophisticated that you understand that referential offers may not be in your client's best interest.
Yes. And anyway, okay, so let's talk about the top five mistakes buyers make. And I came up with a list last night. Andrew doesn't necessarily agree with it, but we can just negotiate.
Today we're going to discuss different things that we find buyers sort of think about.
Number one,
mm-hmm.
Buyers should not go to developer without a realtor.
Right. So I've had that happen a number of times for my clients, and it's something that I'm now weaving into the early communications with clients to say, by the way, just because it's not on MLS doesn't mean that we can't help you and represent you. And
right.
New construction, if the buyer registers with the developer and sort of circumvents us, we may not have the ability or we may not be able to help. We might be cut out of the process, but it's really important to have a set of eyes that is your representation.
Yeah, there's no cost to you as a buyer to have an agent go to developer with you. And plus, remember that the person who is working for the developer is working for the developer. And so they are going to write the contract. I've had people who've gone directly to the developer and paid GST when nobody else on the street paid GST.
Right. Yeah, because in a market where it's maybe a different market than today, we as agents know that oftentimes you can negotiate the GST into the purchase price, or some other bonuses that the developer might want. They might not be too negotiable on price, because they often want especially if it is on MLS, they don't want to show a sale below what they're asking, but they may throw in some perks.
The other thing is developers and their agents sometimes list the selling price, even though it's advertised without GST. They list the selling price with GST, so it shows as selling for more, 5% more, which is a no-no. So you really want to have somebody who's going to represent you. As my assistant Danielle said, it's kind of like going to court without a lawyer.
Exactly. Yeah. And I do want, it's interesting, because I have had clients go to developers and they've said, I'm working with a realtor, and the developer said, that's fine, but we're going to have to pay that realtor, and therefore we can't give you that X, Y, and Z. So I have had where you said, you don't pay us, it doesn't cost you. I guess that there's some ways of looking at what it means to be cost. Some developers may not cooperate or want to cooperate as much with the agents, and that's true. Hey, Braden, nice to hear from you. Good to see you. It's been a long time. But that being said, in overall, you're going to benefit more by working with your realtor, and the realtor is going to probably be able to get more out of the developer, and also protect you from certain problems that could arise, because these developers they usually use their own contracts.
Well, and also when you go directly to a developer, they're going to try and upsell you on stuff. And as a realtor, sometimes developers also, developers are very important. Okay. And I have great relationships with developers, but I'm just saying, sometimes they communicate directly with the buyer and they try and circumvent the realtor. I've had it happen a few times, and I have to reassert that I do have agency, and so I have to represent the client. And I really want to be at the meeting where they discuss all the extras, because I can tell my buyers, this is going to make you money when you resell. This won't make you money. Like the surround sound system, doesn't matter. Yes, right. For $2,000, you can enjoy, or you can set up your own Bluetooth one.
Yeah, but buy a Sonos system.
Yeah. So, and do you need the plugs in the soffits? Do you need the charger in the garage? Probably now you do. These are things that are going to cost a lot more after some things. What kind of countertop should you have? What's the current trend? All that stuff. Anyway.
The thing is about, when we're working with people who are working with us solely for all of their real estate need in terms of a purchase, then we can comprehensively and holistically help them out. And we can advise them on what they're doing in general and how it applies across the whole spectrum of the market. If someone is working with us to try and find them a home that's just on MLS, but they're also looking through other means and other channels and not bringing us into the loop on those, then we're unable to help them in that holistic means. And also, when we feel that energy, we do have a duty to our clients to help them 100%, as if it was our own interests. But I know in my heart that when I know someone is you might say playing the field, that it's a little harder for me to really feel safe and secure working with them and giving them that 100%, because there's a strong chance that they're going to go outside of the avenue that I've been working with. And I will do my best. I still work my best, but I just know that
there's just trust.
Yeah, there's a trust issue there.
Okay, let me put it another way.
Yes, please, because I didn't.
If we're going to date, I want to go to the prom with you. I don't want you to go to the prom with somebody else, because I'm spending all this time dating you. I want to go to the prom with you. You know what I'm saying? I'm in a punchy mood.
I guess so.
But seriously, because I always say, with realtors that I mentor, it's not really about the money. It's about the time. Because if I'm going to spend time and invest in you as a person, then my expectation is there's going to be mutual trust there. And when there's no mutual trust, we both feel it.
Well, I think that it comes down to, again, a matter of being valued. And, if someone likes you enough to spend time with you and you're friends with benefits, term, but they won't take you to the prom,
Yeah.
then you kind of feel like you're being a little bit undervalued, and they don't really fully value what you're doing. And the thing is, we do have high value. We are able to really help people on many levels. And so I have worked with people to really help them understand the market values. And then they go, this happened to me long ago. I may have told this story before, but I spent a weekend showing properties to a different agent's clients. He was out of town. And I educated them on different marketplaces, different geographical areas. We went from Souk up onto the Malahat, over into the Mill Bay area. I spent my entire weekend working with these folks, and I helped them. We actually identified a for sale by owner property that I believe they ended up buying, because they went cold on me after I educated them. And when I brought them into this home, because we saw the sign, and I said, let's go knock on that door. We went in, we saw it, they loved it, and I'm sure they ended up buying it. But the thing was, that the only reason they knew that it was a good deal and good value was because I had taken the time and energy to educate them on the market and educate them on what value is. And so they saved a lot of money by working with me, and they didn't value that, but wouldn't be willing to pay me or help them to buy that home itself. They went negotiating themselves. The same goes for the new construction, right? We're going to help people understand the marketplace, help them understand the holistic value of what they're doing, the location, and give them advice on this. Are you sure you want to buy in this complex? Because it doesn't match X, Y, and Z that you told me. It's not in the area your kids are going to school. Don't get distracted by the shiny objects. And that's the point. Okay, moving on.
Number 2, what's your top mistake buyers make?
Oh, you're going to ask me. I was just going off your list, but I think I call it panic management, or tail wagging the dog, where people begin to distrust themselves almost, and they are making sort of from the hip decisions under duress, and they're not trusting the process. They're not trusting that another property will come down the line. They're not necessarily trusting their realtor, but overall, they're really not trusting themselves. And so it's around really coaching people to relax, to educate themselves, and not to go into things too quickly, not to wait too long. There's paralysis by analysis is a real thing, but not to shoot from the hip. And so I find probably the biggest challenge I find the mistake that buyers make is this panic management, panic buying, panic decision making. Not necessarily quickly, but sometimes, yeah. Do you have anything to comment on that? Would you say that's an observation you've made?
Yes, and actually, I don't have this on the list, but you brought up number 3 for me, which is coming to Victoria and feeling they can buy a house in a weekend.
Right. Yeah.
And we're not just selling you a home; we're not selling you a building. And you put a lot of pressure on yourself when you go to make a quick decision. And the podcast I do, Vancouver Island Time, is all about the neighborhoods, because we're selling you lifestyle, really. And so you can buy a nice house, but it could be in the wrong area. Like, if you want to buy a Cape Cod style in East Souk versus Gordon Head, you're going to have very different life. Same house, different life.
Or different house. Right. Yeah. So, yeah, no, that's a big one. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I agree. And also, I would say number 4 is talk to your realtor. many people, like I work with buyers who then go away and they have the discussion between themselves, which is good. And I encourage people to do that. But then I'm kind of like, I don't know what's going on.
Right. Well, we're not always privy. And, it's often the case people have their own private personal reasons for buying or selling that they do keep from us. Some of them are truly, not something that they would want to share with us. But there are other elements that are really helpful for us to be included in. And when we have that trust relationship with people, with our clients who, they share with us what's going on for them, then we can help to guide them. Maybe it's time to wait. Maybe you do want to buy a house this weekend. Knowing what's going on. Hey, we've been given notice by our tenants and we have to be out by, October 31st.
Well, sometimes they say stuff like, I'm trying to think. Like, oh, well, we didn't offer on that house because it had septic.
Right.
And we don't like septic. And I'm
Right.
like, well, what don't you like about septic? And I can help you with that. Or, it's ecologically sustainable. It's going to maintain itself very well and just pump it out every 5 years. And here's, don't put bleach down the drain.
Right.
Like sometimes people, what I'm saying is they analyze, and I think they're analyzing without all the information. And so if you have a concern, to talk to your agent, because sometimes it's not that we're trying to convince you. It's just that sometimes what you think is an issue is a non-issue.
People don't always know what they don't know. People make a lot of assumptions about properties. And I mean, it's hard for us as agents who see so many properties come and go, and we see the more common problems with a property versus the really high, building inspections. People these days are foregoing a lot of building inspections, and that is going to cause a lot of problems, I think, in the next little while when people start to find these problems with their homes that they've been not getting inspections for. At the same time, having a buyer say, I won't make an offer with no conditions in this market, talking to them about where that serves them and where that may work against them, and what's the risk of doing these things. It's all important to know, but it comes from being in communication with your agent about your concerns.
Okay, so let's talk about
sorry, I just want to step back on one thing, because you were talking your number 3 about buying over a weekend and so on. I think a lot of people feel, and I've talked to people I've been working with, they're like, oh, we don't want to take too much of your time, or we feel like we felt like we're always calling you, and you must be getting really tired of seeing us because we've been working for a while now. And sure, the intention is to help someone buy a home. But I think, Jane, you and I are similar in the sense that, every once in a while we work with someone who does buy a home over the weekend and that's the right thing for them. But overall, I would rather work longer with someone to find them the right fit. And I don't regret that time spent with people. And I think people have an idea that realtors are trying to get someone into a home as quick as they can and, move on to the next. And that's not true for many of us. It's really about forming a relationship with our clients, understanding who they are, what they're trying to do, and then making that connection. That's what gives me the most joy in this business.
That's why we're doing this show together.
That's why we're doing this show together.
Because we have that same value.
So, talk to your realtor about their expectations on the timing, and your realtor should talk to you about expectations on timing. How long does this take? And what's reasonable?
And, not every realtor is going to be the same. We're going to have different opinions on things. And so there was a buyer who wanted a specific type of property. And I'm like, seriously? That's going to be a pain in the ass. Anyway, they went with different realtor, and they said, oh, we felt uncomfortable talking to you. And I said, you know what? I totally get it. You want to be with somebody who has the same values as you, who believes in the same thing, because people sell what they like. So I know there was a realtor who worked downtown who never sold on the West Shore, never. And she would never bring anybody out on the West Shore, and she doesn't She doesn't live in Victoria anymore. But she said to me once, well, I don't like the West Shore, so I don't sell what I don't like. It's so true.
Right.
And that's why we have realtor tours to bring realtors through, because we can sell the realtor on the house, and then the realtor can sell their buyer on the house.
Right. Yeah. And it's true. I mean, we have our own biases about what we like and don't like, and we have to be careful that we don't apply those to our clients, or if we do, we're really aware of those. Our clients, I strongly believe our clients make the decisions we advise. And we do have to be careful about those biases, but at the same time, those biases are often there for a reason. So again, it just comes down to talking these things out.
Well, and it's funny, when I work with people, I say I didn't grow up in Victoria, and that's a good thing. Because I don't have this opinion about Esquimalt or Langford or whatever. I really look at it, the city as a whole, like, especially coming from Toronto, who went through amalgamation, I think they had 13 municipalities or whatever. Like, I see us one step behind. Anyway, so, okay. Number 5, I think this is important. Sometimes realtors say, when somebody writes an offer and the buyer's like, well, I don't know, I think I'm gonna, I'm not gonna come in high. This is my first offer. And the person loves the property, and they don't come in hard enough for the first offer, and so they lose out.
And the first offers are usually the hardest one for them to get to the point of writing. And they write because, if they are a first-time buyer, for example, they get to the point of writing because they really, really love that property. And we know, having seen what things are coming and going for, we can kind of start with the end in mind. We know where this is going to end up, and there is a chance that this buyer's offer may go, but the probability is not, if they're going to be a little bit pessimistic or protective around it. And that's fine. Getting the first offer written is important for going through that process. But if they really want that property, they better step up.
Yeah, and I find so actually a lot of these things are all coming down to trust with the realtor.
Yeah.
Because the realtor will have seen the property and know if it's good value. So last night, it was funny. I was talking with a client who bought a house. I think he bought 3 years ago. And we were working with, I was working with another associate, Brock. And so last night he said, the buyer, who's now potentially a seller, goes, yeah, when you said those houses were crap, and I always thought you were dismissive. But now I understand why you said that.
Right.
But he didn't get the he was like a research oriented person, and I'd be like, you know what, this isn't worth the money, let's move on. Mm-hmm. And he would want to know why, and so I tell him why. But after a while, I'm like, okay, you need to trust me that I'm telling you this because of my experience. And sometimes, like, we just need to move on. Like,
this is sometimes we see things that, we can usually synthesize it down into, this is why it's not a good idea. But to go into the really, the weeds of that could be unproductive in terms of, everyone's time. But going back to, this whole idea about trusting the person that you've hired as your representative, I would say, in general, at any point, it's never too soon. Surround yourself with people who are trusted advisors in all the areas that you're going to be working in. And so, in real estate, you're going to be working with a financial person. Find someone that you know and trust, and who is very competent, and then trust what they're going to tell you if they truly are knowledgeable and competent. Trust your team, build your team, and don't leave it till the last minute to start pulling together people who you don't know and trust to help you through this process. Do it early. I tell many of my folks who think, Jane, you and I both get phone calls from people who say, I need to buy a home in the next month or two, or I need to sell my home within the next couple of weeks. And if they've been talking to us sooner, because they've been thinking about this for much longer than this, and they leave it till the last minute sometimes to call in their expertise, then there would have been more time for us to get them up to speed. So when the time comes, they can make a good decision.
Is your laundry done?
The laundry is now done or on fire.
I can hear my dog barking in the background. I totally agree. And this is why you need to get, actually, probably this is the sixth mistake, which is get your ducks in a row before you go out and write the offer. And a lot of buyers want to get out and look at properties quick because they just feel the urgency, but they don't understand that if they don't have the building blocks in place, they can't write the offer anyway.
Right.
So like I have people who have, they want to move and they don't have their house listed, but they need their house sold in order to buy. So again, it's about getting your ducks in a row and listening carefully.
Yeah. And again, trusting the process. If you are a person who does not inherently trust the process, you're going to have a harder time buying. I have found in this marketplace that it's the people who are trusting the process and are not super cautious are the ones who are successful in winning properties. And that can come down to timing, because in a different marketplace, people who are cautious can do really well for themselves when there's a lot of selection. But knowing yourself and being able to have those conversations with a trusted advisor to know, like, if you're just going to be heading your head against the wall and working through a lot of frustration by writing 10 or 20 offers that don't get accepted, maybe now's not the time to be buying.
Yeah. And what you're speaking of are like in the personality profiling courses that I teach, it's a high knowledge people who want to know for the sake of why, for the sake of why and they're always questioning everything. And so sometimes when I work with those people and we have offers in 5 days, I'm like, okay, let's get in as soon as possible because you will need to think about this for the 5 days, and then get your questions answered before we write the offer, because you're not going to get them answered after.
Right. I'd like to add a 7th or 8th or whatever it is in the list. It's probably 8 or 9 in the list. I know we're not that far down yet, but don't be afraid to write an offer. I worked with a lot of people. You mentioned people coming from, I call it overseas, but from the mainland or from the interior provinces or what have you, but people coming from other areas and they don't know our market here. And, or maybe they don't have a lot of money to spend. They're still getting used to our marketplace, but they say, I don't want to compete. I don't want to compete in this marketplace. I don't want to play this game that seems to be being played right now. It's not a game. This is what is being done by sellers. The sellers are currently, they're currently running the market, you might say. But don't be afraid to compete. Just don't necessarily make an offer that is like, if you have a number in mind and conditions that you would buy the house under, throw your hat in the ring. Sometimes the seller does go for the offer that isn't the highest. Sometimes the seller, sometimes, Now these are rare, and we don't want to be chasing again, 20, 30 offers that are always substantially under asking, under the market value. But if you're making a good market value offer and a reasonable offer, then over time you have a chance of getting it. So don't be afraid to compete.
Yeah, and it sort of goes to the point that there's 5 elements of an offer, right? Price is just one.
Yeah.
And I agree with what you're saying. Also, your realtor will be able to give you a lot of advice on what are the solds and comparables. It happened last week with a client. We were interested in a property. We were told that there was going to be a couple of days, and there weren't a couple of days. It was the first property literally that person saw, and they were overwhelmed by the fact that they loved that property and they thought they had time to think about it. And then literally we had an hour notice and I wasn't able to help them.
So there was a bully offer that came in.
There was a bully offer that came in, and then so the list price was high nines and the comparables in the complex were 920, 940, and it went for 1.1. So I don't think we would have won it anyway.
Right.
Because she was new to the process. And what I said to her is, what happens is at the beginning, you're like, oh crap, I didn't see that coming. And then by the end, you're like,
yeah,
I'm going to win this.
Yeah. Well, it's hard too, because people are writing offers that don't match up to the comparables.
Yeah.
And the market continues to go up because of that. And I'm not sure what's going on there, whether it's just people are saying, and I have actually people in this position, I'm tired of looking, and I know what the comparables say, but this is probably what I'm going to need to offer to get this property. But you can, there are people who are going to win. Okay, so your buyer, if she had written 1.1 and let's say she had been the highest offer,
she would have thought she paid too much.
She would have thought she paid too much. Yeah. And that's the other challenge to this is, you end up, in order to buy the property, you're always going to, in this market, feel like I paid too much.
Yeah.
And the value is always retrospective. You go forward 6 months in time and look back, and you're going to say, okay, this was a good thing what we did, because now houses in this area are selling for 1.2. Or you're going to say, I wish, I bought at the peak.
Yeah. And just so you know, everybody feels that way, even realtors.
Yeah, they do. And it's impossible for us. I get asked all the time, can you find me a great deal? Can you find me, this unicorn property, needle in a haystack property? And no, I can look for it. I can help you find it. I can't promise it to you. And if you're looking to buy that in this marketplace, it's not realistic. We're probably not going to do well working together. I'm going to be able to find you properties and options for properties, but not going to be able to find you something that's, $50,000, $100,000 undervalued. If I could, I would be able to do that for myself. And I wouldn't be doing it for the random person who just calls me out of the blue and says, I want to interview you as an agent and find out if you can, get me well above market value for my home to sell, or help me buy a home well under market value. That's not realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
any questions, anyone?
Pardon?
I'm asking if there's any questions out there for us.
I don't think so. No comments yet. But anyway, actually, if you guys have any questions, please subscribe. We would love to hear from you. I got to do the thing.
You did. Okay. Well, let's get to work.
Okay. So how do people reach you, Andrew?
Okay. You can reach me by calling me or texting me at 250-360-6106. A few of you seem to have been doing that during the show. You can email me at info@andrewplank.com. Check out my website, andrewplank.com. There's a bio in there, a great video, lots of information about the market, and some blogs.
And he's a nice guy.
And I'm a nice guy. Jane, you're a nice person too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
My name is Jane Johnston. I'm with the Briar Hill Group at Remax Camosa. And one day I'll tell you the story about the Briar Hill Group. You can reach me at 250-744-0775. My email is briarhillgroup@gmail.com. And I have two websites to serve you. The first one is vancouverislandtime.com, which hosts these videos now, as well as thebriarhillgroup.com, which has lots of videos to help you on your buying and selling process. So please give us a call. If you have any questions, we'd love to have topics that are of interest to you. So connect with Andrew or myself. And as always, we are here Monday mornings at 10 a.m.
Excellent. Thank you, Jane.
All right. Have a great week. Be productive.
Have a great productive week. Good luck with your offers today. Wish me luck on mine. I don't know if we're competing or not. We didn't share that kind of information, and we won't. But yes, we both have offers in play today because it's offer day.
Yay!
Yay! Okay.
All right. Talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.